Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's UBC Talks on the EU mission, Climate Neutral and Smart Cities by 2030. So this year, 2022, marks the start of the EU missions and also the start of the EU mission for Climate Neutral and Smart Cities, which is a mission that we have followed actively and we know that is of high interest for many, many cities in the EU and in our region. So we're really happy to organize this webinar for you today. And before we start, I would like to introduce me and my colleagues. My name is Esther Kreutz-Hassinen, and with me is my colleague Maria Andreeva. And we both work for the Union of the Baltic Cities. So we are a city network here in the Baltic Sea region. We have today around 70 member cities in 9 countries around the sea. And we work in 8 thematic commissions on different topics. We both work for the UBC Sustainable Cities Commission, which is hosted by the city of Turku in Finland, where we support networking and exchange between our member cities. We manage different kind of projects. We work with regional policy development and work with all topics related to urban sustainability. The UBC Talks webinars is a very well-established format that we started a few years ago that we are regularly organizing on different sustainability-related topics. So you can find also previous UBC Talk webinars recordings on our website, and if you're interested to join the following sessions, then you can follow us on our different communication channels to hear what's coming up in the future. Before we now come to the agenda of today, just a few general remarks as usual in this kind of webinar. So this webinar is recorded, so it will be also available on the website afterwards. All attendees are muted by default, but you're very welcome to ask questions. You can add questions to this Q&A box, and we will take them up in the Q&A sessions. Also, you can use the chat to add some questions and so on. So we will try to take up as many questions as the agenda and the timetable allows. Okay, but now to today's agenda. We start with an overview about the EU mission 400 climate neutral and smart cities by 2030, and we're really happy to have Mr. Patrick Child, the mission manager and deputy director general for DG Environment of the European Commission, with us. We will also have the chance to have a short Q&A session with him. So prepare your questions already if you have any. After that, we will hear some highlights from UBC cities, mission cities from our network, from the city of Gävle, Tartu, Umeå, and then we'll also have an intervention from city of Liepaja. And together with those colleagues, we will have a panel discussion and go a little bit deeper into the processes in those different cities. Last but not least, we are really happy to also have Anna Huttunen from the climate neutral city advisor from the NetZeroCities project on board, who will give some insight about the available support for cities on the journey to climate neutrality. Then we will have another Q&A session, so there's more options, more opportunities to ask questions, and then we'll end the webinar at 11 o'clock. But we will start the program for today, and I would like to give the floor then to Mr. Patrick Child. We're really happy to have you on board. The floor is yours.
Well, thanks very much, Esther, and I'm really delighted to be here with you and really grateful to have this possibility to engage with the Union of Baltic Cities. I'm joining you, of course, as you've said, in my capacity as mission manager for the European Union mission for 100 climate neutral and smart cities. And I'm very happy to see such strong representation in the selected missions from the Baltic region. I was just last week in Vilnius at a Baltic Cities Mission Conference organized by the city of Vilnius on the 17th of October, where Vilnius, together with Riga, Torhage, and Tallinn, gave really valuable inputs, and the local Baltic leaders showed their innovative approaches, particularly in the context of the present energy crisis and against the background of the tensions created by the Russian invasion in Ukraine. In Vilnius, I think there was a general sense that we have an urgent need, therefore, to focus on energy security, the efficiency of buildings, urban mobility, and opening dialogues with citizens to overcome these crises. And these are things which are really central to the work that we're doing together in the city's mission. I mean, essentially, the mission has two main goals. Firstly, delivering 100 climate neutral cities by 2030. But secondly, and I would say equally important, ensuring that these 100 cities act as a sort of experimentation and innovation hub to lead a process where all European cities can follow suit and achieve climate neutrality by 2050. I believe that these goals have become even more important in the light of the Russian invasion in Ukraine, and therefore, the associated need for us urgently to have energy autonomy and break free from our dependence on imported fossil fuels. So the city's mission is composed of 100 cities in all member states of the European Union, as well as 12 from associated countries that were selected earlier this year. But as I've said, we're also keen to involve other cities beyond those who are, formally part of the 100 group. We had 377 cities originally applying, and so there are many cities around the European Union not in the mission, but who similarly have commitments to achieve climate neutrality very, very quickly. And that's why I think groups such as the Union of Baltic Cities is so valuable in spreading the word and reaching out to cities that are not directly part of the mission, and giving us a sort of platform to work together at national, regional levels in order to learn from what everybody is doing, and also benefit from the experience that we are gaining together from the process of the mission. So in terms of the things that have happened most recently in the city's mission, the mission platform, NetZeroCities, has launched a call for pilot cities with a total budget of 32 million euros, which is to help cities to fund the preparation of their engagement in the mission. There is already very, very strong interest in this call, and comprehensive guidance is available online, and the deadline for applications for funding, which can be between 500,000 and 1.5 million euros per city, the deadline is the 4th of November. We are also now rolling out tailored support to the 100 cities through the city advisors who are associated with the mission platform, who will then be able to work with you to compile an individual needs assessment, and a series of webinars focused on knowledge exchange and capacity building, so that you're in the best possible position to prepare the climate city contracts, which are at the heart of the work we're doing with the cities. And I'll speak a little bit more about that in a moment. But we've also, very excitingly in the last few weeks, launched a new capacities project, which is specifically focused on providing support and input for the development of national networks in all of our member states. And we've had a launch meeting for the new mission board, which is composed of high-level experts who are supporting and accompanying the work on the mission. So in addressing you today, I really just wanted to talk perhaps about three main things. Firstly, the work that we're doing to help you prepare for the climate city contracts, and how that should be a basis for outreach and cooperation with other cities. Secondly, a word on the importance of citizens' engagement and what we see emerging in that area. And thirdly, the importance of national networks and how we want to see those developing and how we can support them as well. So firstly, therefore, on the climate city contracts, as I've said, we have now got in place a group of city advisors associated with the NetZeroCities platform, who are intended to provide the expertise and experience that the cities in the mission will need in order to compile the climate city contracts, which are the heart of the engagement of your participation in the mission. The advisors have already, I think, in most cases, made contact with the cities that they will be working with, and are already therefore starting to address some of the challenges around the preparation of the climate city contracts. And these are really a core feature of the city's mission. Every mission city will develop a climate city contract with the help of the platform. These will not be legally binding, but a very visible political commitment, we hope, engaging a full range of stakeholders and actors around the climate neutrality objective. And the form of the contract will be a sort of an overall commitment with the sort of direction of travel, but then a more specific climate neutrality action plan, setting out more in detail the different measures and actions that are required to achieve climate neutrality, and then an investment plan to show the potential sources of funding which will be obviously needed to deliver the ambitious goals of the action plan. And so we're really hoping that the climate city contracts will be cross-sectoral and concrete. They can build on what cities have already done. So we're keen to avoid duplicating. For example, many of you might be in the Global Covenant of Mayors. A lot of relevant experience already developed in that context can be, I'm sure, used in the climate city contracts. But I think that the broad cross-cutting nature of the contracts and crucially the investment plans are probably the new dimension for many cities. I think in preparing the climate city contracts, what is important is that we are able to devote the necessary resources from the outset. That means the necessary resources in your municipal or administrations, but also that you reach out from the start to engage with national authorities, citizens groups, businesses, NGOs, and other actors in order really to ensure that the climate city contract are a collective, co-created process, which will then attract a lot of support when they are finalized. We're working in Brussels at the moment on how we want to validate the contracts when they will be presented. Our idea is to award a sort of mission label to the contracts that fulfill the conditions that we are setting out, and that this mission label will be a sort of vote of confidence expressed at a European level in the plans that you will have developed, which should then, we believe, give clarity, certainty, and therefore predictability to access to funding programs, both at EU level, national level, but also, crucially, I hope, attract a private investment. The city's mission is already working with the platform to provide many different interactive and online activities, and that I really urge you to take full advantage of the NetZeroCities platform to share information, but also to get information about best practice in a user-friendly way, and that the repository that of information that the platform is developing is open not only, of course, to mission cities, but also to any other cities who are interested in learning from experience. Cities will also be able to take part in twinning and teaming activities to learn from others that have faced similar challenges. And we hope, therefore, we'll be able to exchange information as we move along. And I'm really looking forward to the presentation by Anna Huttunen later today, who will be able to say more in her capacity as city advisor on how the platform is organizing itself to support your work on the climate city contract. My second point, is to underline, of course, the importance of citizens' engagement. And I know that many cities have a rich and long experience to draw on of engaging directly with citizens. But I mean, I think, given the scale and pace of the societal and economic transformation that we're talking about in moving to climate neutrality, we can see that the results we want to achieve will not be possible without full and active engagement of citizens. And I think that the encouraging news is that citizens are showing that they are strong, united, and committed to joining the efforts to overcoming the present crises and bringing more innovative and sustainable solutions. So I believe that a particularly critical element of the city's mission is our capacity to reach out to local communities to ensure that there is societal uptake of new solutions and approaches to make cities more sustainable. Because ultimately the transition to climate neutrality is not really just about technological innovation, but profound changes in lifestyles and behaviors, along with innovative governance models. And these sort of transformations cannot be imposed from the top. They need to be embraced and shaped by citizens themselves. And that's why it's so important that we, through the city's mission, believe that citizens should be engaged from the very beginning in co-creating the climate city contracts, along with all the other relevant stakeholders and businesses. Finally, and just a word on national networks. What we are seeking to do as part of the second objective of the mission to ensure that the leadership that the 100 cities in the mission can show will support a wide mode of mobilization of cities across the European Union to become climate neutral by 2050. We're trying to set up national networks, a vital process, because what we're doing through the EU level can only really be a start. We need to find ways, new ways, of allowing cities to engage through national and regional programs to complement what we can do at European level, and to ensure that these programs are well aligned. And we have seen already a very encouraging progress in a number of different member states. In particular, given the Baltic focus here, I just wanted to congratulate Sweden on the very advanced program that the Swedish authorities have developed for national climate city contracts that were very much a source of inspiration for the way we're working in the mission, called Viable Cities, where I know later this year there will be a big sort of landscape moment when these contracts are being signed at national level. And there are many other good examples in Finland and elsewhere in the Baltic states. Just highlight the potential of the Capacities project, which was launched just a few weeks ago with dedicated support to the development of national networks. The sort of services that will be provided on exchanging, learning, inspiring, supporting prototyping and multi-level cross-sector governance structures, and also for thematic capacity building for public authorities. There's a consortium in the Capacities project representing 15 European countries, including Finland and Sweden, but they are also reaching out to all the other member states as well. So I urge you, as you're seeking to develop national platforms in different member states, to use this support and actively engage with it. So look, ladies and gentlemen, again, very happy to have this opportunity to participate in this webinar. Delighted to see such strong support and active engagement in cities across the Baltic states. And in conclusion, just sort of highlight my main messages today. Firstly, devote the necessary resources into the preparation of your climate city contracts for those of you who are in the mission. Involve citizens, involve stakeholders from the start. Secondly, really focus on new ways of developing citizens' engagement so that this is a collective journey. And thirdly, give the necessary attention to national networks, because only if the efforts are well aligned across cities will we succeed in what we want to achieve together. And I believe that the Union of Baltic Cities is a very natural and positive vector for us to develop these conversations in support of our collective ambitions under the European Green Deal. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this really good start of this webinar and all the information that we got. And I think we got really clear messages from you. So thank you very much for this. Before I come perhaps to a few questions that I noted down during your presentation, I would just like to ask Maria if there are any questions have been coming from the audience.
Yes, not at the moment. I think the audience is still stunned and processing the messages and noting them down like I do.
Okay. Well, then perhaps we give the audience for a couple of minutes time, but I would like to ask something which is, of course, now I think it's very relevant for the cities in our region, but also for us as a city network in the region. When you talk about the national networks, I mean, we've been following a little bit also those national or certain national networks that have been emerging or have been built. But how do you see how also networks like ours, for example, can contribute to the mission in a concrete way? Because I see that the focus is, of course, on the national networks for many good reasons, of course. But do you see any good role for this kind of regional networks as well?
Well, yes, I mean, and for me, the more conversations that we can develop at, the more levels, the better it is. And so, I was talking in the beginning of my remarks about this excellent event that I attended last week in Vilnius, where we were talking with colleagues from both Lithuania, but also Latvia and Estonia. And, if it makes sense to develop a sort of regional framework of collaboration, then so much the better. I think the Baltic region that is represented by your organization includes, with in particular Finland and Sweden, countries that are very well advanced and have got a lot of experience, which I think is a potential benefit to others too. What I think is important about the national networks, however, as I've said, is that we find a way, one way or another, of making sure that the national authorities of the member states are fully plugged in. Because often what is needed for the cities to achieve their climate goals are a combination of sort of well-designed public policy and regulation, as well as funding. And both of those things are heavily influenced by what national governments are doing. So what I would say is, if you are keen to develop, your engagement in this sort of regional dimension, which I strongly support, that finding ways of also bringing in representatives of relevant ministries from some of your member countries would also be very positive.
Yeah, and did I understand that correctly? So also the aim of the national networks, or let's say like all the networks that are now operating on either national or regional level, would be also that they have as a task to involve those cities that have not been selected for the mission, so that we can let's say the leadership that you mentioned of the 100 cities, that this is kind of spread. Yeah, no, I mean, as well as getting the different layers of government in different member states involved. The other thing indeed is to provide a platform to spread the word, to enlarge the conversation, to include in the first instance the cities that may have applied for the mission but were not successful in our first selection, but also other cities that are maybe involved in other EU programs. I mean, we have many different EU programs in support of greening cities who may have something to bring to the conversation. So the idea indeed is to support the move towards climate neutrality across all cities in the European Union, and therefore getting them involved through these national networks is something we're really keen to do. Yes. Okay. And now before we continue and actually see if there are more questions, I actually would like to ask you, Maria, to launch the poll, because we wanted to also ask all of you in the audience if you could let us know, is your city among the selected 100 cities in the city's mission or not? Just that we get an overview about how many mission cities we have and how many that are interested in the process.
Yes, thank you. The poll is now on. It's running for the attendees. I have a suspicion that panelists might not be able to see it so far, so it would be a bit of a secret. I see some results. I guess we'll have to wait another maybe 15 seconds if we give our attendees a chance to answer. Almost there. And yes, I'm ending the poll now and sharing the results. Can you see them? Yeah. Yes. So we have 68%, the winning part, who are actually mission cities in the audience, but still some more who are looking into how to join this journey of the Expertise and Innovation Hub.
Okay, thank you, Maria, because that's of course interesting for us to know as well, as we are. We know that many of our member cities also have applied and were not selected. So we are of course really interested to also see how we can bring this to the rest of our network, even though those that are not so like closely followed, so to say, or like don't have perhaps are now in this selected process. But yeah, I mean, are there any questions, Maria, in the? No questions? Okay, any comments? Because if not, I think I would, just reconfirm definitely that we as our city network, we will continue to follow the EU missions very closely. We are very interested in spreading the word and kind of support also the EU Commission and all the related the platform, etc. also on this journey to spread the word, and whenever we can be of any support and help, we're really happy to be involved. Yeah, but then otherwise I would like to thank you, Mr. Child, very much one more time for your time, and well, wish you a good day if you now have to leave, and we'll continue in the program.
Thank you very much. Have a great
day.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Okay, after this very comprehensive input, I hope you all have digested. Now we go further to some more input, but perhaps a bit more on the concrete side. Just a second. So this we have done. So now we come to hear some highlights from UBC cities that have been selected for the mission, and we asked them to prepare like a very short pitch, so to say, and like a very short presentations about how they are working with the EU mission process. And after that, we will have a panel discussion, and all of you are in the audience, so please already think about if there are some questions that you would like to ask, or if you have other questions in general about the whole process, to either the panelists that are coming now and the presenters, or also in general. So no need to wait for any instructions for other kind of questions as well. But we start the highlights from the UBC cities, and we will start with the city of Gävle. So I would ask Elin Frisk to share your screen.
Yes. Hello, everybody.
Wait a second. I'll stop this. Hello.
Yes. Nice to talk to you, and I will presentate Gävle in action. And it was great to hear Patrick talk about NetZeroCities, and Gävle is one of the NetZeroCities, and we are also a viable city in Sweden. So we were very, very happy when the EU Commission actually chose us as one of 7 Swedish cities, and we are not the biggest city in Sweden that are in this group. So we are very happy for that. And we have a long background of working with environmental goals, and we have an environmental program, and the last one is actually we wrote it 2020. So we work on those goals, and our politics actually decided before we had a decision on the whole program. They decided that we are going to be climate neutral, including consumption. I can't talk today. Consumption until 2035. So they were sort of before us that were writing the program. They were like, we are going to be climate neutral at 2035, which we were happy about, because we had thought about something like that, but they were very quick to decide that. So when we include consumption, you know that it's a tougher goal to reach. And that's why we also include the external, our citizens and companies and organizations in our goals. So that's actually what we do right now. We work a lot to sort of get out of the municipality and work with all other organizations and citizens and so on that can sort of help us in this climate action work. And I just wanted to show you that we have a long background. As I said, we've been networking, and we're a part of the Swedish Eco Municipalities, that is a national organization in Sweden. We've been a part of them for a long time, and we've been sort of we've always had a lot of other cities that we sort of exchange experience with. And we had a budget, so we've had money with our environmental program, and for example, we've used it to have employees that work with environmental issues, such as learning for sustainable development in our educations, in our schools. So we have an organization that is really, really good with our schools to work with children's capacity to work with the climate issues. So that's something we're really proud of. And then of course we have our municipal companies that take the lead and work with hydrogen, and they have a renewable energy since many years to go. And yeah, so we are actually very proud of their work. And this is a picture that shows our work right now. And as you can see, we have the program, the environmental program, with the climate goal in, and then we have all the collaborations that I told you about. And we have started an innovation team. We didn't have that organization in Gävle. So we were like, okay, but if we don't have it, we'll have to sort of start one. And it's not a huge one, but it's a couple of persons from different sectors in Gävle with different competence. That sort of is the innovation team, at least the start of it. And we have Viable Cities to thank for that, because that was sort of one thing in the application that we should have. So now we have one, and we work on the climate contract. We're not done yet. We haven't released it, but we are working on it. And we have a climate action plan that is political decided, so in Gävle. So we work with that one. And also you see the three packages that we work with. It's Action for Climate Neutral Municipality, which is focused on companies and citizens, focused on external, outside the municipality, to sort of start to measure consumption-based emissions from climate, carbon dioxide, and also to sort of be able to change behavior in people's daily life and for workplaces and such as that. And then we have the number 2, public transport in focus in the sustainable mobility of the future, our work package that has to do with sustainable transports and travels, and we're going to have a strategy pretty soon for that. And then we also work with climate investment plans. Of course, we don't have it as a package, but that's something that sort of integrates all the work we do. And we connect it with our action plan for climate work. So we are looking at all our investments. We have just started with that. And we have consultants that help us because that's a new area for us. We're not economics like that, but now we actually have discussions with our economic department, and they are involved, and we have sort of started a process. So that's a really, really tough work, but we are on it, and everyone wants to work with it. So that's good. And the sustainable planning process are our last package, work package 3. And it's about sustainable construction, early stages. So then it's very, very important to sort of where we are developing new city areas, that we sort of work with them, and that we make sure that we have the right requirements and demands and so on. So that's our packages. And yeah, we are NetZeroCities. You've already heard about that, but we do have a movie that you can feel free to go in and have a look at. I can send you this presentation as well. And what it's about, I mean, that's something that Patrick also told us, a happy, just, healthy and climate neutral city. And the social sustainable development is very, very important as well. So we get the whole grip of it, which is very, very good. And this is a NetZeroCities photo, but I think it's pretty good, the picture there that shows actually the process that we need to sort of, it's a mission-driven work that we need to sort of have the citizens and our companies with us. Otherwise, we can't do it by ourselves. We need to sort of work, find new ways to work. And it's not about writing documents, it's about testing activities, pilot activities.
Yeah, we will, Elin, hear a lot about the NetZeroCities project still, also from Anna still. So if you could come to the end that we hear the other pitches also, we can go a little bit deeper into the discussion then also in your issues, okay?
Absolutely. I think that was my last picture. So I can we can take the next city now.
Okay, thank you very much, Elin. And I think, I think there would be so much to talk about and so much to go deep into every city's processes, and we will hopefully do that during the panel discussion. But before we go there, just as a reminder, if you have any questions and comments from the audience, please add them to the question and answer box. And before we go deeper into this, we now come to the city of Tartu, and I welcome Kaspar Alev to give a short introduction or a short pitch about what Tartu is doing in the mission process.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Yeah, quickly, what we're doing in the mission is, let's say, still continuing what we've been doing for the past 5 or 6 or 7 years, just trying to boost it up as much as possible and quicken and promote and boost all of our actions. I just wanted to maybe give you 3 of the examples of what we do in Tartu, just very, very quickly. First of all, maybe I would like to talk about our renovation ambitions. At the moment, we have set ourselves a goal of renovating at least 50% of our apartment buildings in Tartu. And for this, we do need technological innovation, we need social innovation, and we need new services as well. So what we're doing is, as for example, we're at the moment in quite a big Green Deal Horizon 2020 project, where we are boosting a national incentive of bringing prefabricated renovation element technology to the renovation market. So national level has been doing for, let's say, average sea level energy, energy efficiency level, and buildings up to 5 stories. And in Tartu, we are at the moment boosting this to a higher efficiency level and also to a much higher buildings, to up to 9-story high buildings. And here's a photo of an example how building with prefabricated elements is being renovated. So just elements. Yes.
Yeah, we cannot see any picture.
Why not?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Oh yeah, I forgot to share my screen. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. So you can see this is basically a 3-story building being renovated with prefabricated elements. It's much quicker. It's much more convenient for the people living inside the building because they don't have to live among scaffolding and plastic for much too long. But it also requires new approach to the apartment owners and apartment buildings. So we're innovating the approach and introduction into renovation for the apartment owners, but also developing a new service where we provide active consulting to the apartment buildings. And this is what our pilot area looks like. And the buildings with light blue are the ones that are at the moment with us in our project to renovate. Then perhaps I would like to talk about digital solutions. For example, from this year, we have been using our city general master plan only in digital form, when so far it used to be, let's say, that you had to print it on paper or have it in PDF, all the different layers. So now we don't finalize it anymore in that way, but we use this digital tool that I hope you can see now. I open the window, right? So this is basically what it looks like. It's all in Estonian, gives a quick input into all the different fields, but there's also a map solution where you can quickly go into whatever is in the basic plot that you might be interested, and also switch on or turn off different layers in the tool to understand whether there's heating, there's land use, gas networks, or ground heating areas, and how much depth is allowed there for vertical ground heating solutions. So everything, and from this year on, we have turned into a digital. So when we share with you the presentations, you can also take a look at a YouTube video introducing the tool. But what we've also done is a city accessibility tool. And why we've done this is to have a more database planning and take the 15-minute city concept into action through parking and city planning. Just quickly, like the progress, let's say, call it progress in construction norms, is that from 2000 to 2016, the amount of parking spaces demand in our construction norms have increased, which means our cities are becoming more surfaced, but also a lot less dense because we need more space for storing our cars. And what we've done is look at all the services in the city. Schools, kindergartens, shops, restaurants, cafes, cinemas, everything that's available that's in the city, and created a service accessibility map for the whole city. So, for example, and from this, how accessible the city is or services are in a certain point of the city, we give a norm of how much parking spaces should be constructed in a specific plot. So let's say somebody wants to build a new building here. Green says that it's a bit less accessible, this area of the city, then the parking norm should be 77%. I'm not going into detail what it means, but when we go into city center, you can see the parking norm is just 12% of what's needed in the construction standard. So we use this tool to give an input for the constructors to build less parking spaces, because services in the city are much more available. And yes, I just introduced the tool to you. And I would also like to maybe quickly go into citizen engagements and just to say that we have piloted climate assembly format in Tartu. I'm sure many of you have know it already. Maybe you have tried. Maybe you already use it. This year we used it on mobility in the city, and I would say it's a great tool that we are going to use again in the future. The methodology there is really good, and it helps us to really educate people and also get input into our budgeted activities and activities for next 4 to 5 years. And yes, when you have an opportunity to use or try out climate assembly or citizen assembly, then I would really strongly support or advise you to try it out. I think that's all my 3 quick pitches. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Kaspar. And yes, we will share all the presentations afterwards. So there's a lot of good info, I think, that we are not able to now go into detail, unfortunately. But we continue directly with Emmy Sundin from City of Umeå.
Yes, thank you. My name is Emmy Sundin. I work as a strategic development officer at the business department in the City of Umeå. I'm a kind of a stand-in for my colleague Philip, who is our mission point of contact in Umeå. He's busy participating the Just Transition conference in Brussels. So I'm a stand-in, but thank you so much for inviting us. Umeå is a medium-sized city located in the northern Sweden. We are an active member of the UBC since many years and one of the 100 pilot cities of the EU mission of climate neutral cities, and hopefully also one of the cities applying now for funding in the NetZeroCities pilot program closing in November. And of course, climate change is critical, not least in Umeå, where northern Sweden is predicted to see higher than average warming and climate impacts. And especially transportation and consumption-based emissions in Umeå have high potential for reduction and are, of course, important focus areas. So we invest in key infrastructure. We work with innovation projects as all the other cities like Tartu and Gävle. I would like to show this, which is kind of the foundation for the climate work in Umeå, to work with partnerships on all levels and set up goals and action plans and commitments to reach the climate ambition. And in the middle right, we have, for example, the national partnership, the Swedish Climate City contract signed with a number of national government agencies. And Umeå and Gävle is 2 of the 23, I think, Swedish cities with such a contract with national level. We are cities that have the ambition to be front runners in the climate transition. And I would say that this contract is kind of a platform for manifesting the commitment to keep us on the right direction, to be able to discuss need of better national regulation, attract national funding and so on. So that's a very great foundation. And to the left, locally, we are at the moment busy setting up a broad partnership or a local climate contract or a local Green Deal with actors in private sector, in civic sector, and with the universities of Umeå. And this local contract is based on the biggest emissions in Umeå in areas like mobility, transport, energy consumption, and so on. And each actor or stakeholder will undertake concrete actions to speed up the climate transition in Umeå. I mean, how are their employees travel to work? What is the employee restaurant serve for lunch? How is this workplace heated, and so on. So our first local contract will hopefully be signed now in the beginning of December by the municipality and by a number of actors within academia and the private sector mostly. And to the right, we also hope to by next year be able to sign this EU Climate City contract and get this mission label to recognize the quality of our commitments under the contract, and we are following this process very closely. And in this context, we also hope to kind of be a voice for other cities in particular northern Sweden that has a lot of attention at the moment with huge investments in battery factories and production of green steel and green energy and so on. Besides all these formal partnerships, we also work with citizens, neighbor group, cooperatives and civic networks. We have initiated what we call Umeå, a community working bottom up with citizen engagement and citizen innovation. Every month we organize open sessions and workshops-ish to develop proposals and also plans for realization, if that's possible. So people attend, they pitch their ideas, they network and meet other change makers. They meet with civil servants at the municipality, of course, and it can be ideas about urban farming or better winter cycling and so on. So this local climate city contract and this Umeå are two examples of how we are trying to build and strengthen kind of a local ecosystem for change within the municipality and with other Umeå stakeholders and citizens. Because we believe that these are like some foundational elements of the transition. And we are looking forward to collaborate in the city's mission to elaborate all this and especially learn more and develop our work on a system level, because we know that we cannot change things in isolated pilot activities. We need more of a systemic way of thinking and acting on how to reduce emissions quickly. And that is truly one thing to be further developed within the city's mission the forthcoming years. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmy. Thank you very much. I'll just go back to my slides here. Yeah, so thank you all three of you for your input, and I see that there is a potential for so many topics that we could discuss further and topics that we could exchange on, and it's something that we also see the potential that we could facilitate more exchange on citizens engagement, on the internal coordination, how you are dealing with this. I think this can be very interesting for a lot of cities, and it's always a pity that we don't have enough time within 1.5 hours to go so much more into depth with this. But I would still like to take the chance to have a very short discussion, or at least take up a few questions. And I would like to, if it's now technically possible, also invite our colleague Karlis Beihmanis from the city of Liepaja to us. If that's possible. Hi, Karlis.
Hi.
Great. Because I would like to, even though Mr. Child already started to talk about the Baltic cities or the Baltic Mission Conference, would like to ask you all, or talk with all 4 of you now very shortly about these the cooperation. Not only the cooperation, as much as important it is, of course, internally, but the cooperation between cities, the cooperation on these national networks, and then also, like in the Baltic case, for example, the cooperation even across borders, coming to a possibility of cooperating also within the UBC network. So I perhaps would start with Karlis and ask you still to give you some, or to ask you to give us some kind of impression of that Baltic Cities Mission Conference that you were attending. And like, how do you see that this exchange can support also your local work then? Or perhaps you give a short info, like what this now was about again.
Yes, hello, my name is Karlis Beihmanis. I'm from city Liepaja. I'm responsible for this mission in our city. Thank you for being invited to this webinar. So I see that I have only some minutes, so I have also a presentation, but not this time.
Okay.
Yes, so we are really grateful to be in this mission, and it is important to us to take the lead in the green transition, and also to collaborate across different sectors and other cities. And so about the cities mission Baltic Conference, yes, there was all 3 Baltic states, also Vilnius, Tauragė, Riga and Liepaja, and also a member from Estonian city Tallinn, which is not a member city in this mission, but which is capital of Estonia. And this event was on political will to participate in this mission and to understand the gravity of situation. I see the result was not what particularly to plan to do together, but that there is a need to cooperate between cities and involve citizens. And we have also discussed cooperation with other cities in Baltic states. Firstly, it is about organizational structure and responsible teams. I see Gävle is in the situation of new team. Vilnius is also making a new team. I don't know about Tartu and Umeå, but we Liepaja are also thinking how to organize this work and what will be this team. And also about the next steps that we should be finding common solutions and common problems, and how can we each help each other, and how can be notable player to other European regions also together. What we can bring something interesting to other European countries together. That's briefly from me.
Yes, thank you, because I think it's very interesting and very good to see that there is this initiative now between the Baltic countries to just like join forces, and also to just like have this initial conference and like kind of show this political will, that there is the political will for transition. I think that's a really good example. And of course, it probably is also because, of course, Baltic countries are a bit smaller than if we now think about Sweden, for example. But I would like to open also there. So you have the national network, the Viable Cities Network. How do you in Umeå and Gävle, how do you work with them, or like what do you get from that cooperation?
Shall I go first, Emmy?
Yes.
I think we get a lot from that cooperation, and they have like seminars. We get a lot of knowledge and share experiences. And for example, when we went to Skellefteå up north in the spring, we sort of after that we had meetings with Skellefteå and our municipal parking company, and so we started to exchange mobility management examples, and so quite a lot of activities that you sort of dive into, direct activities that you can sort of copy paste and yeah, but
so
also sorry,
no, just continue, sorry.
But also concerning the climate investment plans, we have another city, Borlänge in Dalarna in Sweden, where we sort of collaborate to sort of better understand the whole process and so.
Okay, so it's both working concretely on the tasks, let's say, for the mission, as well as like getting inspiration from other activities and so on. Okay. How about Umeå?
Yeah, I agree on everything that you said, Elin. We have followed, I think Allan Larsson, who was a chairman of the mission board for this at EU level for many years. He has been a very important person to get the cities to participate in this, because we have of course got financing. We have got to participate all these high-level seminars and workshops, and very hands-on tips and expertise, as you said, Elin, especially when we were only 9 cities who had this contract with Viable Cities. Now that we're 23, it's well, there are many cities to involve, and that is noticeable. But now we are aiming for the European level. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I think that they have been fantastic during the last years.
Okay, because that's really interesting to see also like what happens then on the national level, and how this kind of cooperation outside your own city kind of can help in these processes. So just as we unfortunately cannot now, because we still have a presentation from the NetZeroCities project, I just would like to ask you, all of 4 of you, still a question, like what would you say is right now the biggest challenge you have in this mission process, and how do you see that for example also UBC could support you on this journey? Do you have any ideas? So that would be the question to all 4 of you. Perhaps we could start with Tartu.
Well, I'd say for us the biggest challenge is getting the process off the ground. It's taken quite a while, the process of applying for the mission and then opening the results and all that stuff. So yes, just getting off the ground, working together with the national government, but also with the local universities and some bigger institutions, so to formulate this for whatever the cooperation will look like between the organizations. But from UBC, I think engaging our national institutions wherever possible to really promote that the cities need the national support as much as possible for this mission.
Okay. And if we now continue to Liepaja, what would you see is your biggest challenge in this process right now?
I think also that I said already about going together, how we can be interesting to other European countries and cities, and if we go each city by self, Liepaja or Riga or Tartu, then we will be like small players. But if we go together, Baltic states or UBC cities, then we will look much stronger. I think that's the main point.
Okay, thanks. Okay, then I'll ask again, like, well, perhaps Emmy first. What is your biggest challenge, and is there any support that you could see?
Many challenges, but one thing that I thought of that we have already mentioned is this thing about climate investment plans. That's it's difficult, but so important to work with, and we really welcome that climate investments plans are a part of this mission process. But we will need support. We've participated in a national development project for climate investments plan, but we haven't really. We have to get forward now, and perhaps Gävle can inspire us, or other cities. But climate investments plans, that's a big challenge for us.
Okay, yes. And then Elin, how is it in Gävle? Same for you?
Yeah,
Same
that's
for you.
our huge challenge. Even though the climate contract, of course, also to have the external participants and stakeholders and so on to sort of work with that. But I mean, we've seen that happen in other cities. So, but I think the climate investment process and all the other, I mean, they work with other things than environmental issues, and we come here with our sort of climate investment plans and investment apartments and the economics here, and they are like, what? They have a full-time job, and yeah, if UBC somehow could sort of, I mean, they need knowledge concerning this, and they are economics, and we need their mind and their way to think, but still they need knowledge in how to think about climate emissions and so on. So yeah, there's a huge gap there.
Yeah, I see. Yes, thank you, Elin, and thank you all of you now for the input. I mean, as I said before, I see a lot of potential for the exchange, and what Karlis now also says that this importance to come together and to see that where are the points when inspiration, like you now also said, between Gävle and Umeå. Sometimes it's just that you need to talk to a colleague from another city and you perhaps get some ideas about how to concretely implement something in your own city, etc. So I think this kind of facilitation of exchange, it's definitely something that we are really happy to support. But now we come to the official support and to the very concrete, I think, help that you can get and that you can expect. And now we come to the presentation from Anna Huttunen, who is the climate neutral city advisor at the NetZeroCities project. And I think Anna will those of you who are mission cities, of course, you know that already probably, but just she will present us now the very concrete support that the platform is offering to mission cities and also to other cities. Anna, please, the floor is yours.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. It's very nice being here. I will soon share my screen, but yeah, so my name is Anna Huttunen and I work as the Climate Neutral Cities Advisor at the NetZeroCities project. And actually, I can only see the panelists, so I cannot see who is now joined in the webinar, but I guess there might be many familiar faces because I used to work in the city of Lahti as the manager for sustainable mobility, and I've been working a lot with UBC during the last years. So it's great to be here. And now I will share my screen. Patrick, Mr. Child was already sharing some insights, and maybe I can go a little bit more into details about the support that we are offering. Just a second, I will try. Yeah, that's enough about me. And as Patrick was presenting the EU mission and the city mission, what we basically at the NetZeroCities do, we are supporting the EU mission on the climate neutral and smart cities. And we are basically managing the implementation of the mission and delivering the platform and the support for the cities that they need along the journey. And what is concrete in the NetZeroCities? There's first of all the mission platform, and the idea there you can actually see also the front page of the NetZeroCities app, is to organize and make accessible all cities available tools, resources, expertise, and capabilities. And the mission portal, that's open for all the cities who want to join and who want to learn and who want to use the resources that are available on the portal. And then we city advisors are basically the human resource on the platform. And we are working directly with the mission cities, but also then later on with the pilot cities that will be chosen. Then there are the climate neutral city contracts. I will go a little bit deeper on them on the next slide. But they are the multi-level government collaboration tool. And like was already said by Elin and Emmy, that it really means that it should be a tool that will help the cities to reach the climate neutrally. So it's not just getting the signature, but it's really to help the cities to work towards the goal. Then there's the climate transition map. I will also go deeper into that in the next slides. And then there's the NetZeroCity pilots call, which is interesting not only for the mission cities, but for all the cities that are eligible for H2020 funding. And what we city advisors do with our mission cities, I think, Tartu and Umeå already had their first discussion with their city advisor from the panelists, and then Gävle, I think, is soon to be. But what we do with the mission cities, we are supporting the cities throughout the program, and then we give guidance on the journey to climate neutrality. Then, of course, like what I think it's very important in the whole mission is that we get to know the cities very well, and then we will be able to connect the cities that have different challenges, have found, for instance, they can be also small things. They can be some kind of governance innovations that actually are not presented on the big stages somewhere, but it's something that we actually learn when we collaborate with the cities. And I guess that's one of the core things that will be very valuable when we work very closely with the cities. And of course, then our job is also to find more expertise to the cities when there are needs, for instance, technical needs on energy or buildings or mobility. And then, of course, we will advise the mission cities on any program elements when they do arise. Of course, we have been now talking a lot about the national level and also the regional level. And I think that's also very important. And also the city advisors, I guess our role is also depending, of course, on the groups of cities that we work with, but bring the message also to the national level and the regional level, and of course cooperate with for instance, UBC or other regional networks. And maybe to give an example, how is the working structure for us? For instance, we all have around 12 cities that are kind of like the lead cities that we support. And then we also have 12 cities that we are supporting. I'm working with a pair, and we have together 24 cities. And my lead cities are the 6 Finnish cities, then the 3 Norwegian cities, then the 2 cities in Slovakia, and then 1 city in Austria. Then I'm supporting the group of the German cities, Czechian, Liberec, and then Eilat in Israel. So we already there in this small group of city advisors, we can share a lot of insights. And then we are a team of 12 city advisors all together. And for instance, tomorrow we are gathering all the city advisors together in Brussels to synthesize what we have learned so far and to plan the next steps with the cities. What we are going to do next with the mission cities, or what we are offering to the cities, it's a super neat assessment process where we identify and map the support that the mission cities will need during when they are preparing for the climate city contract, or when they are planning for the implementation of the different actions they are going to, or what they are going to have to do in order to reach the climate neutrality. And then, of course, based off the kind of like a row of workshops that we'll be doing with the cities, we will create a tailored plan for the cities that we can then follow along the years. And this will be, this will basically start, we have started now with the discovery meetings, and then end of November, we will continue with the next workshops. Here you can, this is also what Patrick already touched a little bit on, but of course it's a kind of a very big picture of everything that is involved in the NetZeroCities and the mission platform. So a lot of expertise is feeding into the mission platform and the mission portal, and then there is the big tool, the climate city contract. I think I also need to go a bit faster so that we can have time for a couple of questions in the end. But yeah, the climate city contract, that's, of course, Sweden has been a great model, and the Viable City they have had a great impact on the development of the climate city contract model for the mission cities. But there are the 3 parts. There is the commitment part, there is the action plan part, and then there is the investment plan. And the whole process is iterative. And the idea is that the cities would they can start, for instance, with regards to the commitments, they can start involving the mayor and maybe some other stakeholder, but then they can work during the years more on the commitment and involve more and more stakeholders to the plan. And the same thing is with the action plan. The cities, the idea is that the cities can use what they already have as much as possible. For instance, if there is a climate action plan, if there is the CCAP already taken in place, of course that should be used as like the ground for the whole action plan. But then, of course, what is new in the climate city contract, it will require the cities to think more systemic, so that we will be working with the cities in order to identify the different co-benefits, for instance, and the different like short-term and long-term impacts what the actions will have. And that, of course, will then feed to the climate investment plan, which is for sure for all the cities the most difficult part. That was already mentioned in the panel. And I think it's a very good thing that cities are coming together and working also together on the investment and capital plan. And of course here, one part of the investment plan is also that you will find resources to do the job. And that can be also elaborated in the investment plan. So like when you kind of creating new teams, creating new governance structures, of course it has to be resourced somehow. And yeah, we city advisors and all the experts that are part of the consortium, we will try our best to help the cities to get the climate city contracts done. And this, I just wanted to show, this is available, the climate transition map is available. Elin already also showed this, but it's available on the portal, and it's a virtual tool where you can try on the different parts of it's a compass basically, so you can have more information about how to create a portfolio, how to understand the system, how to build a mandate, etc. And what are the things that you need to take into consideration. And of course, that's something that works for not only for the mission cities, but all the other cities that also have the ambition of becoming carbon neutral 2030 or beyond. And then finally, there's the NetZeroCities pilot cities program. And maybe now it would be interesting to hear how many of the participants is going to apply for the pilot cities call.
Yes, we have now launched the poll to see how many attendees exactly participate, and they start voting. So let's give them a couple of seconds.
Very exciting.
Very exciting. I understand, Anna, that you can't see the results. So it's even more suspense than usual. Yes, and now I'm sharing the results, so you, Anna, can also see them. So 40% yes have already applied or are preparing the application to apply before the deadline, and 60% still haven't, at least for this pilot call.
There is still time to change the mind. Yeah, but yeah, so the NetZeroCities pilot cities program, it's a 2-year grant funded program, and it's also financed under Horizon 2020, and it's open for all Horizon 2020 eligible countries, and therefore it's of course support that goes beyond the 112 cities. Of course, the portfolio of the pilot cities, because they are invited to create something very innovative, something to create solutions that take into account different levels of change and different sectors of emissions, etc. That's also something that basically prepares the city for the working on the climate city contract, because it has the same logic. as the climate city contract when it comes to considering the co-benefits and the portfolio approach. Yeah, that's also a good tool to figure out how to work with different stakeholders in the city and maybe create or formalize some cooperations that already take place in the city. And this was already mentioned by Patrick as well, but there is 32 million for about 30 grants available. And yeah, the ones who, the deadline is 4th of November, and the pilot cities will be announced end of February. And in the future, there will also be the twinning program, so that the cities that want to follow and learn from the pilot cities can apply for. And that will be then, there will be more info coming on that, and that the call will be announced in 2023. And maybe, yes, I think that's it from my side, because I actually also cannot move the slides anymore for some reason. But I think that's enough from my side. And yeah, I guess we still have a little bit time for questions. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Anna. Thank you very much. So I really encourage every one of you, then all of the cities, to really find out all this available support from the portal. And we will, of course, also spread the words when these calls are open, etc. But just follow what the NetZeroCities project is doing, but also just follow our channels, and we will work together and spread the word, and also yeah, try to inform everybody when these funding opportunities are available. Yes, let's have a look for some questions. If there are any questions for Anna, please put them in the box. There has been one question about that was, I think, still a question about for the panelists about the challenges and any problems in implementing the changes in the cities. So there has been one. If anybody still would like to answer on this, like, is there some? Do you encounter any problems in implementing your your plans now? I think the question is more aiming towards like internal, so to say, issues, like not what are the challenges as such, but like are there any barriers you encounter? If somebody still wants to, or perhaps Anna, you also know what are usually these kind of barriers that cities are encountering for starting with the process, for example.
Yeah, of course, we have cities that are very in different levels. They, of course, the cities in general, they share the ambition, but the starting points might differ. So the cities also need to maybe set the ambition on different levels, because what I also find very important to notice that all cities still have steps to take and things to do. And basically, even though cities might start the climate city contracts like from different places, they are still all in the same kind of game, and everyone can learn from each other. And of course, like capabilities and skills, that's basically something that you need to start with. You have to have the supporting governance structure to really implement the change. And they are the first steps that the cities need to take: the transition team, stakeholder mapping, etc. And of course, then to figure out what are the, if not yet there, usually the cities, of course, already know the what are the biggest emission sources and what are the biggest barriers on the emission sectors.
Yeah, and I think then for these issues, especially for those cities that have been selected, that's where you are helping very concretely. Yes. Yeah, so I think with these words, I would like to.
There's still a raised hand from Emmy.
Okay, sorry, I didn't see. Sorry, Emmy. Then please just.
If we have time, a question for Anna.
Yes.
about the call. Do you expect many like single cities applications or applications from a cluster of cities from the same countries? We've heard that this differs a bit in different member countries.
That's a very good question, but actually I cannot really say anything to that. It's something that the cities and the possible city groups they have to decide themselves. Yeah, we have very strict rules on the equality of the call, so we city advisors are not actually answering any concrete questions on the pilot cities call.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, well, sorry for that. We cannot provide this today. Are there any more questions that I overlooked, Maria, or anything else?
No, everything else I
No,
think is covered.
no, everything was covered. Okay, but well, then one more time, I would like to, encourage to get in touch with the NetZeroCities project if you want to have concrete support, like follow what they are doing. You are also really welcome to get in touch with us if you are interested to that we could facilitate any kind of more exchange on specific topics, etc. I am sure we will find cities that are happy to provide some input, or also if you have yourself like a challenge that you would like to share, let's say, with other cities in the region. Yes, so don't hesitate to get in touch with us. You find our information on our website, and I will also take the chance to already invite you to our next webinar, our next UBC Talks, which is now, it's not specifically on the EU missions, but it's also in a relevant sustainability related topic. It's about the localizing the sustainable development goals and preparing VLR, voluntary local review reports. So in case it's not you dealing with these issues in your city, please forward this invitation also to your colleagues if somebody is interested in this, and we would be happy to see you back here on the 29th of November in this format. And as I said, everything else, don't hesitate to get in touch. We can try to accommodate ideas and wishes and everything you would like to share. So one more time, thank you very much for our panelists. Thank you, Anna. And then I wish you all a good day. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.